Jerry.
Yeah.
So the others, I hope I get to see you. If you had any question in the midst of my discussion or sharing, please feel free just to stop me. I don't usually mute people unless you do expose to a very noisy background. Okay, otherwise just be free and have the microphone on. So when you have any question, you don't have to wait. All right, so just feel free to just be with us. Okay. So far, I see only guys. I'm very impressed. We do need male leaders nowadays. As you can see, we have many female leaders in this world. But we do need reasonable male leaders. Hi, Moses Chan. Okay. So I'm going to share with you what I have prepared today. And let me just turn on my area. Hang on a second. And here is the presentation. All right.
Dr. Sandra, I just want, do you mind we recording your speech? Is that okay with you?
Depending on how you're gonna use it.
Oh, no, just to share some people who is on vacation, they want to watch, they don't want to miss your speech. Then when they come back, we will show again. It's
All
not
right.
all public. It's not if it's okay. Because I needed your permission to do so.
Okay. So I trust that you see the full page, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. And May you're gonna be here. Have a good spiritual support, huh?
Yeah, I will be always here.
Awesome. All right. I was given this title, Resilient Leadership, and subtitle is the problem solving and stress management. Thanks to Eric, just had a brief introduction of my background. Currently, I'm also a master student. So Ian was talking about him being the master student. I'm also the master student. This is my 5th degree, and it is clinical mental health counseling. So it is very helpful for me to get to know more of the thinking process of the youngsters. I work mostly with executives and the graduate students, but I love to get to know more about our future leaders in this forum. So since the title is about leadership, so I'm going to share with you a couple of aspects. The first one is this is very recently published report. I don't want to call it as an article. This is a report by McKinsey. If you know, McKinsey is a well-known consulting firm. So they're talking about the personal attributes of 21st century leadership. So there are several aspects that I'm going to just list out here. I just want you to make a note of it. As you could see, really a foundation, a good foundation for a leader, a strong leader, is to really have the resilience as well as perseverance. I remember my niece went through a medical school interview, and the Ohio State University medical school asked a question: what's the difference between persistence and perseverance? So here the grit is more about the perseverance. Yes, you can be persistent and trying to pursue your goals, but perseverance meaning when you have a goal, you encourage yourself, motivate yourself, and move forward. And then once you have encountered some difficulties, handicaps, barriers, uh, particularly a fall that is accidentally happening, then you want to be able to stand up again, rise it up. rise again. And so the grit and the resilience, I put it at the bottom is that because from my perspective, I feel this is very critical. And that would be a major topic and the theme for our discussion this afternoon. And you have noticed that the levity is also important. Hey guys, we have to have some sense of humor. And sometimes we don't have to be too serious. I don't want you to always like behave. I'm a leader, I have to be behaving certain type. In fact, when we're talking about leadership and business nowadays, one very important and very much valued is a genuine leadership. We'll call it the authentic leadership. Be yourself. So being yourself is not just being indulgent in your desires, lust, and all that. Being yourself meaning behind the scene, you need to build a strong inner core. And so for a leader, you really have to have a very strong inner core in order to have a strong stand of what you believe in. Just now I saw a question. Do we see a question or something? Somebody is kind of monitoring it, right? For us. Does it help to paste screenshots here? What's that? Okay, yeah, sure. I don't mind. Go ahead. Yeah. And then the other aspects is, as you can see, it's almost at the same level. It's really the humility. Most of our children are taught to be proud of being himself or herself. I think being proud of oneself is very important, but at the same time, we're able to be open-minded and we're able to be welcoming new ideas or even different ideas from others. This world has been very antagonistic. A lot of times we hear people fighting against each other. It's almost like if I were to be holding this kind of perspective, I should not succumb to the other party's perspective, which is not the case, which shouldn't be the case. We all can learn from each other. So having the learning attitude and also the humility is also very important. So I feel that the top bottom three are very critical. The upper ones, the upper two here, the stewardship or the servant and the selfless leader, I actually work very heavily with servant leadership, but I'm not going to spend time on doing this. So, but these two leadership really is an exhibition, a manifestation, and also the operation philosophy of the leaders. The other side, the positive energy, is when you're doing everything correctly, everything positively, always having the positive energy, then that is the most important influential force. Okay, people really don't like to hang out with people always are so negative. People like to be with someone who's more lightheaded, more like-minded, headed, and also they want to be with someone who's more relaxed. Okay, so what's the big deal? Okay, just hey, let's get out of that kind of a very stringent behavior. So the positive energy always attract people to you. For youngsters, we like to be among other people. We like to socialize. We like to find ourselves among all the interactions with diverse populations and so on. So having this type of character helps you to be better received in a community or a group. And so the other side, I want to just share with you the resilience. This is a really nice picture by Johnny Shannon. And I have the website here, so you could definitely go to the website. So I don't want to present to you something that might be infringement of the trademarks or anything. So I try to cite sources. So anyone who is interested in looking into all these aspects, I think it will be easy to have access to it. As you can see, it's self-control and connected. So we are all born and created social animals. And we are also born rational beings. Okay, so in other words, we always rationalize things. We always try to explain things, try to understand the meaning behind things, the causes, and so on. So, in a way, the self-control is a very rational behavior, and getting connected is really just what our inner needs. We just need it. Okay. If you, like me, I'm very much an introvert. I'm doing the personality test right now, and I try to tell people I'm an introvert. They say, introvert. They say, you must be kidding me. A introvert can also be well connected. They can also be working closely with others. But for introvert people, we need our space. So a lot of times in the real world, we talk about roles and boundaries. In the past, I did not understand this until now. I'm studying clinical mental health counseling. I realized that I'm actually really someone who requires some space. And so I need to tell people, hey, give me a break, like time out. I need to just get off the screen, or some I have to talk with myself, have to walk around and try to regroup myself and so on. So getting connected doesn't mean that you lose yourself. Doesn't mean that you lose yourself. We all are different. We all are precious. Okay, we all are precious. So we want to make sure other people understand us. And so these two aspects are critical. And then we are going to talk about the empathy and the sympathy, mostly empathy. So some social skills, so on. As far as the problem solving skills, that was one of the assignments that May gave me. I will give you some models. Sometimes when we work with models, it helps us to think logically. And so we're able to be ourselves and do whatever we think is the best for ourselves, and make us feel comfortable, confident, secure. And then we just go ahead and do that. But if with the model, we know what would be the next step to take. All right, so these are some bases for it. So if we were to be looking at leadership, all right, according to Mappel and Dixon, this is a very old article, but I like this diagram because it helps me to see how I could develop myself so that I could become an influential or impactful leaders on the positive side. And so this team, they proposed this system. They call it the systematic leadership. And I like this model, so I would like to introduce it to you. The most important aspects I'd like to discuss with you this afternoon is only on the personal leadership, but I will kind of show you what the other two are. For personal leadership, it's very important to have steps. Okay, they have steps. The first one is self-awareness. I personally treat this as a gradual progression in maturing ourselves. And so talking about the self-awareness, this whole world, who is the least self-aware person, according to a coach in Texas. Anybody can tell me? The least self-aware person, according to somebody else. Once I describe to you the meaning of this word, then you probably can think of one or two. The self-awareness is not to be if you were to look at it self-aware, okay, so it could be like, oh, I don't know how people think of me. I don't know if I say this and whether this girl is gonna really say hi to me. And so that is also self-aware, but that's a more negative connotation. The self-awareness is right here, is the main focus is not me. So in other words, I'm focusing on what kind of responses from those people, we call the recipients of what I say, my facial expressions. So in other words, I'm more concerned about how other people perceived what I say or do. And so that I would be more cautious as to say or do certain thing that should not be offensive. If I were to say something, I noticed that maybe Eric or whoever kind of raised their eyebrow. He has very beautiful pair of eyebrows. So the eyebrows raised up. I don't know how to do that myself. But then I said, maybe either he disagreed or maybe I say something that he felt he was offended or something. So the self-awareness is a very important word for knowing what's going on around you. All right. So a lot of times, I can give you an example. There was one time I was working with a PhD student who has been working with me for 5 years, who came to my team. I did not want to accept her as my doctorate degree, but people being saying, oh, she's a hard worker and so on and so forth. And so as you can see, this person did not have a whole lot of confidence. And so they were, after like 5 years and all, we worked together almost 3 or 5 years. And she came into me and say, Sandra, I have a question. So she posed the question to me and say, this is my question. And I simply say, so and so, after 5 years, how could you ask such a question? That was it. That was it. I said, how could you ask that question after learning in this program for 5 years? And the next day, this person came back to me and say, this time she becomes very official, say, Dr. Lu, I'm going to drop out of your team. I said, what? Why? It was so insulting for you to say that to me yesterday. I said, what did I say? See, I didn't even know what I said. And so she recited it. And then I realized, I was thinking in my mind, what the big deal? What's the big deal? I only said, how could you ask this question after learning with me for 5 years? And then after I had my degree in biblical counseling, now I'm studying clinical mental health counseling. I recognize this person came in with not a very high level of confidence. And this person has been working with me very hard. She has done all her best. All right. And then after 5 years, she has the audacity and the courage to come in and very honestly asked me a question that was on her mind. And what my reply was, hey, like, can you explain why you asked this question or anything else? I only said, how could you ask such a question? And that was totally insulting to her. And I finally realized that was after almost 10 years of learning myself. I realized that that was a very hurting statement to someone who was not very confident from the beginning and who had done all her best. And yet she was asked that kind of a question. Although none of those words were negative at, in the first glance, but the entire attitude, the tone. So what I'm trying to tell you is self-awareness is very important. It's not to be self-sensitive, okay, or self-critical, or not accepting yourself. It have good self-awareness. You have a grounded standing yourself, and you have a stronger core. And so that you're able to be objectively observing the other people's response from what you said, even your facial expressions. So the next level is how you manage yourself. And if you see somebody who's raising their eyebrow, rolling the eyes, and so on, my other problem is I always roll my eyes. It's as if I'm so intelligent and you guys are so idiotic, you know? And so my students at Purdue, there was one time they asked Sandra, they usually call me Dr. Sandra, you don't like us, huh? I said, oh, I love you guys. So why would you ask me? I don't like you guys. They said, why didn't you say anything that is positive? It's almost as if we could not do anything right before you. Oh, and at that time, I just thought, oh, I'm so sorry. I was just sincerely apologizing and ceasingly to the whole class. Usually my class is like 60, 70 students. I just said, oh boy, how could I give you that impression? So, and then they started to describe, I sometimes roll my eyes or sometimes have those kind of facial expressions. So the second step for personal leadership is that I need to manage myself so that not only did I have to have this keen observations of other people's reactions to what I say and do, but at the same time, I'm able and I have the stronger core, I have the confidence that I can manage myself so that I can adjust myself in a way that could help others to feel more relaxed around me. And so the third piece is to develop oneself. So I remember that incident of the grad student was like in probably about 2006 or 7. And that was about the time I started to pursue my next product. That time was the fourth. I think it's the fourth. Fourth, which one called the master's program. And so I went in and I learned, and that program only has 2 years. It's a 2-year program for a master's of arts in biblical counseling. It's also a counseling course. But then it took me 10 years. I've been telling people, so of course I was very busy then, and I was doing my consulting, teaching globally. But the most important thing is it took me 8 years to know myself. Okay, it took 8 years to know myself. And then the latter 2 years to learn how to work with others. And so developing oneself is how you are able to really enter into a program, a training. For me, training doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because I don't like to work personally, but because I want to learn, I want to improve myself. So I force myself to be in degree programs because, I'm not a quitter, so to speak. I'm not a taco. So if you don't know what taco is, so be it. That's a political joke. But anyway, so I usually don't want to drop out any program. And so that's why I force myself. And so that I'm able to learn from hard learnings. So the third level is to develop oneself. And toward the end of the fourth step, then you develop something inside, and then you manifest it outside. So you demonstrate your character. I always tell people, every one of us, okay, sitting here, every one of us, we have a brand to build and we have a brand to hold close to your heart. Branding is a personality. As you know, that's my specialty is branding and strategic marketing. So the fourth level is you start to have a different brand personality. And people look at me, even though I'm still pretty serious, and people usually a little bit of fearful of me. But in a good sense, they are more respectful of my ideas and so on. But regardless, the most important thing is that people know that when they talk to Sandra, Sandra is genuine. and Sandra is sincere, and Sandra loves me. Okay, so those characters need to be developed. Okay, and that essentially we have to develop internally. A lot of times it's not what mom told me to do, what dad forced me to do. It's how I see myself, and I have a goal, and so I pursue that goal, and I work through different opportunities. When I fail, when I make mistakes, I treat them all the learning moments, as you all know. And so this personal leadership is very critical. Once you have acquired these characteristics, then you are able to go down. Oh, I probably deleted it. I deleted it. So be it. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, it goes down to here. Let me just do this for you. Okay. So the next step would be the supervisory leadership. If you note, importantly, is basically you mobilize knowledge, so you have to be self-learn, and you need to have some capacity for knowledge so that you are able to learn. And also you are able to lead with example. And then the next one would be the strategic leadership. This is the piece that I do most of my teaching nowadays, because I work with chief executives and so on. So they have to know how to set directions and how to mobilize the entire team to go for that North Star and those type of issues. So these are the two latter pieces or outer ring of that systematic leadership. Okay, so when we are talking about self-awareness, I have a model to share with you. It's Uric, it's Tara Uric. She has a TED presentation. She also has a center for the awareness. And so what she has helped us to understand is not to ask why, but to ask what. So how would I be able to do that? She was telling us that you have to have a strong self-awareness in order to gain insights, which I agree. Because if I'm full of myself, you can see some people might be like that, appearing like that. Actually, those people, let me tell you, when people appear to be full of himself or herself, those people are the people that require a lot of tender loving, because they are less confident. And so they have to build this facade. Okay, they have to build this facade to present himself or herself as if they know everything, so that it's invincible. But let me tell you, if a person who is really know the stuff, and the person who is really confident, he or she would look like somebody who probably doesn't know the whole lot, because they're so humble. They are always there listening to others, always there trying to learn from others and ask, tell me more, and those type of issues. So we should not treat them as like, what? You didn't even know this? Actually, probably no. They are more interested in knowing you, right? Instead of show offing what they are, what they know. And so Dr. Uric said, if you have a good level of self-awareness, you can gain insights. Okay, I usually like to use different color fonts. So you see it here, we have 3 red fonts and 4 black fonts. Black fonts on the basics. In other words, I usually treat them as the characters of a person. Okay, and so let me just explain very quickly what they mean. First of all, I have to be very interested in what I'm doing. I have a personal statement. Okay, I have a personal statement is that I want to be able to serve intellects globally. So I can tell you, I probably do not go to places to work with the homeless. That's not my calling, but I I do have sympathy and empathy for those people. I don't look down upon them. But my passion is to really work with people who are learned. And I like to share ideas, and so that we're able to stimulate each other. So I have passion for certain things, and I have the aspiration. I am aspired to do these things. And these type of inner core, the characteristics of inner core will manifest it in your behaviors and so on and so forth. And the other one is to fit. Try to find something that you have the heart for. I remember when I was in high school, I think even in the middle school, I would have to be choosing what I would study later. I was in a boarding school. It's an American style boarding school in Taiwan. And I was telling my mother, so I talked to her just like a very Americanized, so to speak. It's like a very open, not like a typical traditional Chinese person. And so I told my mom, I said, Mom, I want to study English. I want to study literature. And so my mom looked at me and said, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How could you find a job studying English?" I said, Mom, I like the language. No, 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 you can't do that. And so she sort of, in a way, dictated what I studied. And so I actually graduated from pharmacy school. I hated pharmacy. I can tell you, I hated it with a passion. And so I never practiced as a pharmacist, except for for a few years that I was working as an intern. Um, you guys are all above 15 years old, right? I hope. When I went to intern, I thought, hey, I'm a pharmacist intern. And I essentially have my internship at it's almost equivalent to CVS nowadays. That particular pharmacy store is no longer here. Drugstore, no longer here. And so I was there. I talked with them, and most questions people asked me at that time was which brand of the condom that will not leak. And I was looking at them say, well, that was like 40 years ago. Okay. So at that time, the quality of condoms are bad. And so that's the only question, most of the questions people are asking me. I said, you must be kidding me. I got those years of training in the medical school, and I have to ask all these questions. So as you can see, aptitudely, I'm not interested in it. And then occupationally, I just thought this is really ridiculous. Fit is very important. It is important for us to know what our passions for. And so now what I'm doing is really what I really love to do. So I'm actually now getting into the art, like a master of art and so on and so forth. In the past, I was the master's of science. Okay, I'm a science student. So fit is important. And now I'm 71 years old. And I look back, I feel, oh, my life is fulfilled because I'm doing something that I really enjoy. So kids, since you are all young, I'm sorry, I shouldn't call you kids, but youngsters, you're at a point where you also need to contemplate what I really want to do, what really makes me tick, what really excites me. And you have to understand the fit is very important. The other word that is important is the pattern. We have to know ourselves in order to figure out what kind of errors I always make, what kind of boo-boos that I always don't want myself to do, but I always fall into it. Try to find those patterns and try to figure out why you do that. And then the important thing is, how would I be able to work through it? Okay. What type of issues that I can identify, and then what can I do to make myself a better person? So the pattern is important to help us identify areas where we could help ourselves to grow. And then the other three are important aspects when you're having insights, when you want to have good insights, is that you are aware of how people respond to you. Sometimes when people ask me, okay, Sandra, I don't know what I should do. So I would ask them 3 questions. Number 1, when you do certain things, do people appreciate it? And people say that you're doing a good job. When you're doing them, are they feel totally yourself and you really enjoy doing it? And thirdly, when you do that, you feel that you have a mission and you can accomplish something. And so those are the 3 questions you want to ask yourself if I'm fitting for such a career prospect. And so in that sense, knowing the response from others is very important, and knowing those aspects and how you respond to the knowledge is also the perspective also very important. The other one, the insights, is that when you have insights, you are more impactful. You don't just say what other people say. You do not repeat like a parrot. You have your own perspective. And so, of course, you have your own opinion. It doesn't mean that I have to hold my opinion to the T and I'm not going to budge, okay? No, that's not it. It's always important to have those insights and you have the impact on others. The other one is also critical, is what you value. That's the value system that all of us should treasure. Today, if you want to look around and see if you can find somebody whom you look up to, that would be wonderful if you can find those people. I can tell you the politicians, I don't find many of them could be very aspiring. But the value system is critical for us to learn from our parents, from our faith, from our teachers. So the value system is another aspect important. And that was the reason why today, when I'm teaching strategic leadership, one of the aspects is the ethics, is the authenticity and those aspects. Okay. Now, so how would I be able to do what it says? Ask what instead of why. Give you an example. Why are we like oil and water? When I'm in high school and I just for some reason, when I see this person, it just turns me off. Or whatever I do is almost like that person just despises me. And so I don't know why. I don't know why. So if you were to ask why, you lose sleep over it. Okay, so the next question is, what can I do to show my friends that I'm the best person and for them because I care? All right, so I kind of abbreviated it. It's right here. Is that I want to see how would I be able to show whoever that I'm probably be the best friend of theirs because I sincerely care for their benefits. Okay, and everyone has a tender spot. Everyone needs to be liked. Everyone wants to be accepted. Everyone wanted to be saying hi to. And so this is a question we ask ourselves. What can I do to show my friend or to show anyone? Okay, actually it should be everyone that I am genuinely care about you. And then the other question is, why do I feel so terrible? I feel terrible. It sucks. And people like to use the F word. I don't know why the F word really kind of help you to get out of that energy. I tried a couple of times, tell you the truth. It kind of made me feel very uncomfortable. So I don't use that word personally. And I asked my niece and nephew, don't ever use that word before me. Okay. And so, or you can ask that. Okay, why do I feel so? It's so funky, whatever. And so the question you should ask is what usually had happened. Again, abbreviate. So don't worry about the grammar, okay? So what usually had happened that makes me feel terrible. So in other words, pattern, pattern, pattern. So I want to be very intellectually trying to discern what areas that I probably have to kind of tackle because I keep on making the same blunders. All right. And then after I make a blunder, and then I feel bad. Uh, One of the areas that I still am trying to develop is to say things not too bluntly. And I used to pride myself of being a very discerning person. I can tell you exactly what's wrong with you, and people know that. Okay, so I had that kind of a training since I was secondary school. But saying that doesn't mean that you are able to help others. I can give you an example. There was one time a student came to me and say, "Hey, Sandra, I have totally figured out what happened and what I can do and so on and so forth. But she suffered for the past year." I said, "Why didn't you come to me when you started to have these kind of struggles?" "Oh, no, 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 no. I almost can tell. I can almost imagine what you're going to tell me. And I don't think I can take it at that time." And it took me the whole year to figure it out and try to kind of correct myself. Now I feel more at ease with who I am, and so on. So now I come to you and just want to verify. I just want to verify that I did something right. And I look at the person, I said, I just give her a huge hug because I feel terrible because I felt when she was in need of someone who's able to walk along with her while she was having the struggle, and she did not have the courage. She was so afraid of what she's going to hear from me that she did not come to me until that she somehow struggled through that and she kind of rised above it. And then she came to talk to me and say, "Hey, Sandra, I made it." Although I was very proud of her, but then I felt terrible because of my pattern of behavior that turned people away from me when they actually truly need a real friend. All right. And a listening ear. And so the other area I thought I could kind of share with you is why me? Whatever happened, why me? Why didn't so and so? Why didn't dad say something to my sister? Why me? Okay. The word, I think the what question would be, what's most important to me? In other words, if I can treat this as a learning moment, then I go ahead and learn from it. Or if that was just a tantrum from my parents, sometimes parents can throw a tantrum as well. You don't think that parents are all rational, okay? Sometimes when uh, they have a bad temper. Some parents, I remember when my brother working with his son when he was about 16, 17, his house has so many holes. You know the American architecture, they have those they call it drywalls behind the beautiful wall, right? And so my brother was very angry, so he just punched on the wall. The wall has a hole, and his son learned exactly like that. I remember one day my nephew told me, Gu, aunt, meaning aunt, Google, aunt, now I figure it out. If I shout louder and quicker, Dad will shut up. Well, I'm not teaching you that. Okay, hey, guys, I'm not teaching you to do that. What I'm trying to help you to understand is parents sometimes have their share of difficulties when they are not behaving rationally. We need to be empathetic. Okay, so the question I ask myself would be, what's most important to me? Is I care for my parents when they feel bad, when they are disappointed at work, or maybe they run into somebody who said something that hurt them, and so on and so forth. I'm okay. I'm okay. If you treat me as an outlet, that means you have you become real before me. There was one time I actually asked my mother, I said, Mom, because my mom treated everybody like a perfect woman. Okay, she's the perfect woman in many people's eyes. But she always yelled at me. So there was one time I asked my mom, I said, Mom, why are you yelling at me? Why everybody sees that you are the perfect role model, and yet I always get yelled at, and I don't think I'm that bad. And so what my mom was telling me, that really touched my heart. And she said, hey, you're the only person I can be real with. Does that touch your heart? So my mom treats me as the only person she can feel at ease to be whatever, to do whatever. And I should be able to be there for her. Okay. So what's most important to you? So after she explained that to me, so I would encourage that we have a open communication with our parents, but try to catch them when they are in a better mood. Okay, if they tend to have very stressful life, and then like very softly ask them, why would you like to do that? Why have I've noticed that you have been perfect to everyone. Everyone says you are so perfect and so on and so forth. But why are you treating me like that? And so after when my mom told me that day, I have a totally different frame of mind. Whenever I see her, um I have this tender spot for her. When she yell at things, and I can say, Mom is in a stress. How would I be able to help? Maybe I just be quiet. Maybe I do something that kind of ease her nerve. And so these are the aspects I feel is a very good practice for us. And so this is a diagram. It's easy to remember, and later on you'll be working on this model. Okay. This is something that I learned from school. We observe people's behaviors. You look at them, sometimes they smile, and sometimes they have different facial expressions, and sometimes they have certain words to say. Okay, so they have some statements. So what we overtly observe or hear, and that is the trees, the leaves, the fruits that we can see. But there is something that feeds into it. There is something feeds into that kind of behavior and those statements. And that I call the patterns, their attitude, their perspective toward things. Okay. The other day, somebody came to me, and there are a lot of these type of issues. There was one person came and talked to me yesterday, actually, for like an hour and a half. And she went on forever and to say there was one person in the team hated her. She despised me. She and so on and so forth. And then, so whatever the person said, this lady who's actually sharing that with me misconstrued every word of it. Okay. And so I did not want to correct her per se, because really she was in at the moment of high stress. So I said, well, let me share with you what I have seen and heard. So I kind of shared with her what I saw and I heard. And then she realized that because she had an attitude toward this person. So whatever the person said, she misconstrued it. So what I'm trying to help you see is this model tells us we do observe superficially on people's behavior. I hear people's statements and so on, but what we need to discern is, what might cause it? Okay, so maybe they had some bad experience with the person. Just like people in the past feel that I'm always very straightforward and The good thing is the cutting to the chest, but the bad thing is it's very hurtful. I would say hurtful things and so on, because when people are not ready to hear certain things, whatever you say, it's very hurtful. And so in a way, people have this type of impression of you, so to speak. So that would be the pattern. That's the trunk. And the last part is the root. Okay. So in other words, exactly what's in that person. What's in that person. So what I have been doing something right is that regardless what I have been saying, doing, people start to recognize my attitude and also my heart for people. So it is important as for all of us to understand, to discern what people's innermost cravings, innermost heart. Okay. And because of my faith, I said, God knows my heart and God knows everybody's heart. Okay. So for Chinese, I always say, whatever you do, there's somebody over there watch over you. Okay. So there are a lot of these type of proverbs. So in other words, we know that we need to be responsible for what we're doing, what we're thinking, and how we feel. Okay. Even though we can pretend to be like somebody else, but the inside of us, that needs to be fixed, okay, so to speak. And so one way to fix it, I call it the T model, TEA. Okay. Why do we do that? In other words, is they have a stimuli. In other words, I give you an example. I don't really think that way anymore. So okay, just use the lady that I worked with yesterday. And so there was a stimuli because somebody changed seats. Okay, the other person changed seats. That's a stimuli. So something happened. And what the person was thinking is, she does not like me. So she despises me to the point she has to move away from me. That's the thinking. And once she think like that, then she get very irritated. You know, the emotion gets up. Hurt, anger, so on. And so the action was she did not want to say anything bad about the person because they're not familiar with each other. But then when I was talking with her, she yelled at me, because she feels comfortable being with me, but she yelled at me, not at something I said or do, but just, you know, the mannerism was bad. And that was part of the reason that when she called, she didn't call for that, but I recognized after what she had told me, I said, there was a stimuli. And she had a very negative opinion of it. And that aroused her emotion, bad emotion. And so when she talked to whatever, when she expressed her views, it's a group discussion session, all right? So when she expressed her views, it was like yelling or something that is not very courteous. So that's the action. If she did not break this, next time when the other person showed up and the other person probably did something totally mindlessly or totally non-intentionally, and she started this whole cycle. And then once she responded to all stimuli as such without good self-awareness, then it becomes her character. Very edgy, very irritable. And in a group setting, everybody kind of, she's here. Ooh, you know? She didn't know. She didn't know why. So I have the heart to counsel this lady, and I wanted to work with her. Okay, so I have been working with her, and I can see the progress, and I can definitely appreciate that she comes to me whenever she had any kind of a issues. Okay, in the group dynamics. And so what I'm trying to share with you is when you having these type of patterns, you remember just now we talked about patterns, then we want to kind of discern what exactly the issue is. So you want to find out and then start from the thinking aspect. So it's almost like you have heard of this half glass of water. You can look at the half full or half empty, right? If you look at everything always half empty, it becomes very negative and you host this negative energy. Make sense? Okay, so on the left-hand side of your slide is a model for you to discern yourselves as well as sometimes others so that you can understand the other person's issues and you have the passion and compassion to work with that person, show your care. And then we show you that you care. And then the other one is to look at yourself. This will be a model. I call it T model for you to break it. Okay, for you to break it. T model is TEA, right? Thinking, emotion, action. So I can look at this and I can break this pattern. I can break this habit. So I have a question. Oops. Okay, I have a question later on for you. So on one end, you use the model to try to discern, okay, the motives. On the other, you use the model, the T model, to help ourselves to break that habit, okay? I just want to very quickly share this with you. Today's society, people like to label people, or people like to label themselves. Sometimes girls come to me and say, you know, I'm so depressed right here. I am so depressed. And then sometimes boys, mostly boys, I think girls also have the similar issue nowadays, is that you need to manage your anger. I think you don't know how to manage your anger. Okay. And some people, they are social phobic. Okay. And so we just label people with all these issues. And this diagram tells you, in fact, it's very easy for you to kind of get to know yourself a little bit. There are two levels. DSM is something that people use for labeling people. Depression, anxiety, anger issues, addiction, those type of things. People like to do that. But what I'm introducing you to is that it's really something you could help yourself. Say, for instance, on top of that, it's called the behavior disorders. So in other words, I'm not able to control my behavior. The bottom one is I have a hard time controlling my moods. Okay. So the top level is the behavior disorder. The bottom one is the mood disorder. And so if I were to like to always be the best, okay, let's give you an example. I want to be the best because my mom tells me, Mary next door always do so well. Okay, why can't you do that? Okay, people like to compare you with others. And sometimes when people do that, I get very irritated. Okay, so why do you want to compare me to so and so and so? I am me, I'm unique. Okay, but when you are cultivated to become like your mom or dad or with somebody whom you respect or whom you want to learn from, then you actually want to control what the outcome is. When you want to control what the outcome is, that means you have very high expectations. I think you all understand that, right? Now, if I am always disappointed, if I'm always disappointed with the outcomes, there are two consequences. One is I will feel that I am losing control. I am not able to do anything right. There is no hope in me. Once you feel as such, the instrument will measure you and you become labeled as depression. When you have depression, people prescribe medication for you. And once you take the medication for a long time, you screw up your neurotransmitters. I will show you that diagram. Or if you want to want to have certain outcomes, and then you are not able to control it, the other flip side is I angry. I am anxious. So now you have the anxiety. How would that be manifested? I got heartburns. I tremble, and I got headaches. And so after you have those instruments, you kind of tick, 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 and then say people tell you, oh, the counselor tells you have anxiety. But essentially is depending how you manage it. If you're doing your best and then let go of the outcome, okay, didn't do well, tough, learning moments, how would you be able to develop yourself into those two areas? Right? Or worse is when you are anxious, when you really want to do something, but the people cannot satisfy you, or if you say something, people always misunderstand you, and you got so frustrated, and then you will do what? Either you anger, that would be the behavior. And then people say, oh, this person has a disruptive personality. Or you can just say, well, I'm going to calm my nerve. I am going to calm my nerve. So I'm going to take some substance, and marijuana, whatever, the substance that calms my nerve. Then you have all these type of issues, addiction and so on. The reason I'm sharing this with you, because you're all are in the developmental stage and your hormonal system is still in development. And sometimes we just cannot control our emotions. And sometimes we don't even know how to properly express ourselves. So be it. Okay, so be it. The most important thing is you have to be very much self-aware of the pattern and of the motives, as we just show you this model, and then just break that cycle. Break that cycle. You don't need drugs for it. You don't need so-called substance to do that. Okay, and that was the reason why I felt passionate about this topic. When May asked me to talk about this topic, I ponder upon what kind of materials I want to share with you. It's too many, but I just really want to share that with you. It's nothing so big deal. Nothing so big deal. Okay, life goes on. Life goes on. And so don't label others, and you don't want to be labeled by others either. And I always do not like people say, oh, this person is depressed. I usually do not like people saying that, because once you say it too many times, people probably think, oh yeah, so-and-so said I'm depressed. So-and-so also confirmed that I'm depressed. So I'm depressed. When someone just very controlling, the issue is the controlling issue. It's not the depression issue. Did you see that the difference? And so to know the fundamentals of mental health is important for all of us. It is important for all of us. You know, I don't want to share with you bad news, but the bad news is we have a lot of youngsters are hurting themselves nowadays. And a lot of youngsters feel that it's almost like nobody in this world can understand me. Or some people might think that I don't see why I have to live. There is no value. for me. Once you put yourself in that kind of rabbit hole, it's very difficult to come out of it. Okay, so I like to take this opportunity to share with you some very easy steps. First of all, I am angry. Yes, you are angry. Okay, so you have to acknowledge the emotions, but differentiate and analyze your emotion. Use the tree model. Okay, use the tree model. And then you have to accept and appreciate because you are built like that. Everyone is created differently. Everyone is different. And sometimes it's in our genes, sometimes it's in our epigenome. We have genes, the core genes, we also have the epigenome, okay, epigenome. Because when I was at Purdue, we also studied cancer, and so we work with the gene, the specialist in studying genealogy. Anyway, so these are important. So you have to accept it and reflect your emotions and their origin. That's the tree model. Handle your emotions. That's the T model. So you have to break the negative thoughts. Always think positively. Always think constructively. That is a must. And I thought you said that we don't have any rules. That's not rule. That is a philosophy. You just reframe everything. You just reframe everything that you experience. If you were to have negative thoughts, like my mom yelled at me, I feel that she is a nut. Why is she always like that? Why is she always like that? That's pretty negative, right? You kind of label the person. So if I were to reframe my thoughts, then I would say, mommy is in stress. Who else can be there for her except me? So once you reframe it, you can see the value of you in this kind of a scenario. So handle your emotions with the T model and handle the emotions of others. That's the empathy. All right. I learned biblical counseling and mental health counseling. It's very helpful for me to manage my emotions and also help others to manage theirs. Okay. So the question I'm leaving it for you to sort of reflect later on with Ian's leadership. Then you can say, please recall some observed behavior statements you've heard, and then you examine the pattern or attitudes they may reflect. And maybe you can say, so-and-so in your class, I always see her or she doing something, or some guys were doing something. Then you try to figure out how you can better know this person, know the internal struggles, know the dark side of the person, and help the person to bring the person out of that rabbit hole. And you are going to be the most valuable asset the person ever has. And so the last one is ultimately discern and underlining desires and motives behind them. So that once you know all that, I would challenge you. You probably don't feel anything bad about the person anymore. All you can think of is there anywhere that I can help her to change? Or is there any way I can be there for her or him when they're in stress? Okay. So that's the stage one. I'm not too sure if we need the break because I have some slides to share with you. Probably not as heavy, but there's a couple of topics I'd like to share with you. So may I can just continue? Just nod your head would be okay.
Yeah, just continue.
Okay. Now, another issue that I was told to talk about is the empathy. And so I have some definitions here. The first one, the empathy is the ability to understand and share another person's feelings without judging them. Okay, empathy is without judging them. You don't necessarily agree with them, but you understand, okay? And you understand and share their feelings. Yes. Now, sympathy is another word. We do not like to sympathize others just for sympathizing sake. Sympathy is a beginning of an empathy. Personally, I think is we only show our sympathy if you don't take it in action. You don't take action of that, then I don't think it's worth much to the person. And the sympathy is about connecting with the emotions the person is experiencing. So here, the sympathy would say, I care about your pain. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I do care. Okay. I care about your pain. But then if you feel for it, if you really feel not for it, I feel your pain. If I feel your pain, that means you probably can help the person to overcome it. Okay, overcome it. And so the empathy and sympathies are different. I have some diagrams just for you to understand. The emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, quotient is about the same thing. So some people use EI, some people use EQ. For emotion for EI here, there are 5 elements. Okay, the 5 elements: the self-aware, self-regulate, empathy, motivation, and social. But I feel this doesn't really help me much. So I kind of separate them. One is the personal competence. Okay, the personal competence. We spend a lot of time talking about self-awareness. And then we use the T model to do self-regulation. And then we also examine ourselves to make sure that what is our motives behind everything. Okay. And the other one is the social competency. The social competency is empathy and the social skills. Okay, so I think you probably have learned this quite often. The other way of looking at it is the EI techniques. So the personal competence, okay, essentially is what I see, the self-awareness, what I see. And what I do is the self-management. So it's a good summary of what we had already covered, self-leadership. The social competence is the social awareness. In other words, if you are to work with people with diverse background, there was one time I worked in Indiana because I teach at Purdue, and I had the heart to serve the medically underserved. So I work with colleagues in the community centers to work with those people, like the city of Gary, Michael Jackson's hometown. And the people there are in poverty and they do not have much hope. The entire city full with people living in at the bordered areas. I don't want to say they are all addicts, but sometimes they do have their emotional struggles and substance abuse. And when we ask them, help them to eat healthily, and then I realized that they don't even have any like a Walmart or any fresh vegetables available for them. The best thing they can find is those pantry, as in close to the gasoline station. So there's all processed food. And so you ask those people to eat healthily, how could they? They don't have any source of fresh vegetables and so on and so forth. And what they see is all very negative. There's no role model. Everything is like, there's no hope and so on. So when I work with those people, I was for a long time, I was the only Asian face. Most of them are Black of, like blacks, we call it African Americans. We also have the Caucasians, people living there for generations. And so I learned to work with them as an agent. And in the beginning, they feel very insecure around me because they don't know what my intention was. Why are you here? Why are you here? We're African Americans. Yeah, we know who we are. Oh, those whites. Oh, yeah, I know who those whites are. But why are you here? And so it took me a long time to learn to work with them and to be accepted, to be trusted mostly by those people. They've had very bad experiences, and so the social awareness. I remember there was one time I took a test on acculturation test, and I thought I was very understanding, but then I was wrong. My score was very low. You know why? Because I want to make everybody happy. So I just thought we're all the same. Okay, we're all the same. Hey, we're not different, and try to be. It's almost like ignoring the cultural differences or subcultural differences. That was a wonderful lesson I learned. The social awareness is not to ignore our differences. Cultural awareness is to recognize our differences and to see how we appreciate each other. For the longest time, I didn't realize that. I thought, well, as long as I kind of glance through it, and it's like, oh, we are the same, we are the world, like a Michael Jackson song. But then, very low score, because I need to recognize their uniqueness, their experience, their cultural backgrounds, and so on. By understanding it, by knowing them, and we're able to exchange our ideas. And so what I do is to, once I recognize that we are different, but that is all right, because we have a mutual respect, mutual appreciation, then we learn to manage the relationship. Okay, so I just want to share with you a lot of my mistakes, or we call it the learning moments. So now I can see what acculturation is, because in the past I misinterpreted it. So what I'm learning from this is there are two aspects. What I see, one is the personal ones, one is the social ones. Both are relating to awareness. And then what I do, it's all about managing managing myself and managing the relationship. Okay. So I just want to share some with you, with the youngsters. There are three very important, they call it silver bullets, to improve EI. As you can see, it is important to manage yourself, and in turn, you are able to manage the relationship. And so in this diagram shows you, it's not anatomy class, but I usually like to go back to the basics, is the physiological responses. Okay. So the first thing, as you can see, there is a performance on the y-axis and the stress on the x-axis. And so you see, sometimes if I'm nervous, then I can do the best I can. So usually having some level of stress is healthy. So it achieves the optimal performance. If I'm so like-minded, I probably will not be able to prepare my talk, prepare my exams, prepare what I need to do better because I just thought, okay, that's fine, so be it, And but if I'm a little bit nervous, then I want to do best that I can, but let the outcome go. Okay, that's the most important exercise. I strive for excellence, but not strive for perfection. Perfection meaning I meet my expectations. That's perfection. Some if people were to say I'm a perfectionist, that shouldn't you shouldn't be proud of yourself as that. So I want to be the striving for excellence. So I want to be a little bit nervous. That's fine. A little bit anxious. That's fine. Then I can do the best. And then once I have performed it, done. Okay. And so that is an exercise, a mental exercise. So as you can see, if it's too low of a stress, it's boredom. And once you start to feel it, okay, once you start to feel it, they actually draw your attention, which is a healthy phenomenon. And you have the best performance, and then let go of it. So let go of the outcome. So you do not have the afterthought. Say, what did I do? Okay, do they like me? So take those areas where you cannot control out of your mind. I always tell people, do the best with the things that you can control and let go of those things you're not able to control. People's thoughts you cannot control, but you're able to manage yourself and you're able to manage the relationship. But there is a point that the other person will have to also be responsible for his or her behavior. All right. And so the first one is managing stress, very important. Gratitude, thankful for what you can do, thankful for what you have. Maybe not to your 100% expectation, but so be it. Okay, I like that word. And the other one is when you sleep, okay, you need to have sleep hygiene. And so control blue ray is important. All right, so I'm sure you have heard a lot of this. So try to get a good sleep. If you are anxious, how can you sleep? You're becoming restless. And so they are all interconnected. They're all interconnected. The reason that you're not sleeping well with the bright lights is because that stimulate the melatonin, which is something in your brain. The other one is not to drink too much coffee or Coke, anything with caffeine. I recently was told, don't quote me on that. I did not have any data, but somebody told me that Coke actually has more caffeine than coffee. I don't know, but in other words, Coke does stimulate my adrenaline. I remember sometimes when I kind of dreary, then I have a glass of Coke. Okay, so I don't know. So you have to control it. Okay. So if you have this type of caffeine in your body, you tend not to sleep well. But this is also make sure everything is genetic, so everybody has different responses. But these are the three aspects that Travis Bradbury had a TED talk on it, and I just jotted down and share that with you. The other one I'd like to share with you as to how I have to learn, how I can learn. Have you seen this model before? You have? Eric? He's nodding his head. Am I seeing correctly? No? Yes?
No, I've never seen this before.
Oh, okay. When I saw this, I thought this was very helpful. So what it says is there's a ZBD, zone of proximal development, so the ZPD. And then what this model, just take a look at the left-hand side first. I need to find my ZPD. Okay, I need to find my ZPD. Like say if I need to change my certain behavior, okay? And but then I really want to be like so and so, so gentle, so gracious. So I set the level too high. So that would be outside of my ZPD. So if I were to set my ZPD in an unrealistic level, I get frustrated. Okay. And then of course you have to work hard at dealing with that kind of frustration, your emotional issue. So the ZPD means now you can take a look at the right hand side. The first step is you learn with assistance. You have a good friend. You can tell, maybe say for instance, Eric and Jerry are good friends. So Eric would tell Jerry, yeah, I know, you've been telling me about that. So hey, Jerry, be my friend. Whenever you notice something, you just raise your pen. Okay, don't tell me anything because at that moment I might be very irritated. Okay, so don't bug me. So you just raise your pen and then I can be alerted. Does you see what I'm getting at? So that would be I have a little bit of assistance. Okay, and so gradually, I can handle it, right? Eric can handle it. I say, okay, thank you, Jerry. That's it. You don't have to raise your pen anymore. So I don't need the assistance or scaffolding. So you gradually phasing it out so you can become next level. And so the level means I started to learn with some existence. Gradually, I can do it by myself. Next one is that I can actually explore areas that I can even strengthen some areas. Okay, even though it says less assistance with learning, that means I can gradually stay away from the crutch. Okay, but then the next level, the step 3 is to learn to strengthen it. And so I can probably, now we have AI, right? So I just ask Google, I ask ChatGPT, I talk to ChatGPT all the time. And so we talk each other and I learn and what areas I can improve and so on. And then the last part is to learn to automation. In other words, it becomes a habit. This is very similar to the T model. The T cycle is that I break my thinking process and then I change my behavior. Of course, my action get modified, right? So I break that cycle. And so the ZPD helps me to recognize I should not jump. I should not have an expectation of a quantum jump from my level to the next. I need to go step by step. And I probably need my pal to support me. Okay. And so this is another aspect I thought that would be helpful. Even though May gave me the title is like a problem solving, right? Yeah, problem solving. So I give you methods to resolve some of the issues. I'd like to share this with you, not to teach you anatomy, but what I'm trying to say is it's all MRI evidence. These are all MRI evidence to tell us for the FTD, the frontal temporal disease, these are for the older people. For autism symptom spectrum disease, this is for most of maybe the youngsters. And so both of these can actually be modified with a dopaminergic system. And where's the dopamine and the serotonin is all in this area. Okay, so the limbic system. So I'm just trying to share with you how important it is for us to start with changing our thinking process, and the behavior and the emotion will come along, and the emotion will trigger. Okay, there are triggers, trigger the neurotransmitters. Okay, so the neurotransmitter serotonin or the dopamine The serotonin sometimes it makes us feel kind of, the THC sometimes give us that. But the negative side of it is you kind of too relaxed, too relaxed. And so you're not driven to do certain things. Dopamine, on the other hand, it motivates you, give you this adrenaline level. And so both of these neurotransmitters are real. These are real. And all of our emotions, behaviors, and all of these aspects are real. The best way to deal with this is before we are affecting our autonomic nervous system, before we hit the ANS. Once you hit this autonomic nervous system, it automatically happens. Give you an example. I used to work with anorexia, a patient with anorexia syndrome. And this lady wants to be as slim as possible because she wants to keep her weight low so that she can be the person who's being thrown up. I forgot the term in the cheering group. You see what I'm getting at? Like in a football game, we have a group of usually ladies, but recently we found some real cute guys doing that. What you call that? Is that cheering? And this lady wanted to keep herself very, very thin. She wanted to be under 90 pounds. That's crazy. And then after a while, because her thinking is telling her, I want to be thin so that I'm able to be the key person who gets thrown up and is like a big star and all that and drew all the attention. And so the thinking moved to her emotion. So she just feel that she should vomit after she eats and she should do whatever to make sure nothing gets into the digestive system. And then her action is try not to eat much, try to vomit, self-vomiting, and do all these kind of things. After a while, she does not have much of appetite for anything. This H2 nervous system, H2 is the that triggers our heart rate and also the stomach acid. It's the ANS system. So what I'm trying to tell you is something easy that we can do today that we learn, break that T cycle, and so that we're able to help ourselves not to trigger these neurotransmitters, to be there to the point the organs got memorized. They memorize these kind of routines and get into my system. And so these can help ourselves to keep mentally healthy. We don't have to be labeling others, and we don't want to be labeled because we are able to help ourselves to be self-aware and self-managed. Okay. So I like to share this video with you just to go into the next topic. Right now is 36. We should probably have another 10 minutes. We'll finish the discussion and we'll leave the time for you all to ponder on what we have. So let's watch this. Okay, so let's go to the next topic. It's called resilience.
Resilience is the result of a highly interactive process between individual characteristics in the person and the environment in which that individual has developed.
It's really the counterbalancing of difficult things that may exist in the child's life with positive things that occur within the family, but even positive things that may exist in the community.
An easy way of thinking about resilience is like a scale with a fulcrum in the middle of it. And there are things on both sides of that scale, experiences of both bad things or good things.
Our genes shape where the fulcrum is positioned at the start.
There are certain genes that make a child more sensitive to the effects of maltreatment or parental neglect or witnessing violence.
The fulcrum may start out kind of more towards one side or more towards the other side, and that's going to make a big difference in terms of how much these subsequent events affect things positively or negatively.
Science tells us that experience moves the fulcrum, for better or for worse.
Even though we are born with genes, genes will respond differently to certain environmental situations as opposed to others.
What the genes are actually doing are turning up or turning down the expression of chemicals in circuits in the brain and the circuitry in the entire body that govern our responses to stress, to anxiety, to depressive symptoms.
When positive experiences accumulate and children learn coping skills that help them to manage stress, the fulcrum can slide, so the scale tilts toward positive outcomes more easily. That's what resilience is all about.
There's always an adult, or more than one adult, who is key to providing that relationship that helps to build resilience.
I hope you will hear it clearly. Simply put, the way we manage our stress, that's another topic that the May wanted me to talk about, is that we need to recognize these kind of models. It's always helpful to do models. So as those scholars were talking about, there is something called the fulcrum. And this fulcrum actually is the genes, and everybody is different. Like some people, they tend to be big-hearted, so to speak. They probably just have a huge nerve and they don't even feel much. And some people are so sensitive. Any little things can really turn them, upside down. So that is totally fine. Everyone is different. What they're trying to help us to understand is you have a fulcrum in the middle and on the side or whatever. So what you need to do is to accumulate those positive things in your life. And maybe you play with your cousins and you go to Florida, go to the Disneyland, and you do something that really is very positive. Okay. A lot of times for those people who are less fortunate, they probably just I have a chance to play in the river. When I was growing up, we don't have a whole lot of material things available to us. And so usually we go to the field and grab a little flower, and then you just put the flower on the hair and just like, oh, I'm the queen of the field or something like that. So in other words, we accumulate those positive thoughts and positive outcomes. Okay. And so one thing I was trying to help you with, and just now I talked to you about this reframing about my interactions with my mother. And so just very quickly, you recognize that if you were to think it differently, things can be very different, and the feelings, the emotions could be totally on two extremes. So the second one is aside from reframing ourselves, sometimes we tend to be too irritated or too aroused that we are not able to handle and not manage ourselves. We need support. So sometimes I want to line up, and whom should I call? Whom can I call? Of course, with my faith, I talk to God. There was one time my mom was a little bit insulted when I was telling her that, Mom, because I have lived by myself and worked in the Pacific Rim for many years. And so I spent a lot of time by myself. And so I was telling her that, and I said, the only person who really knows me is my God. And then she was like, she didn't take it very well. But regardless, and I'm sure that many of you maybe have your mom or dad or siblings or family members or other family members or or classmates and so on and so forth. All right. So reach out to others. So it's always to join a club. Like this kind of club is very good for students to be together, and with a chaperone, you're able to do whatever you have your heart for. And that is very good type of environment. And then the third one is to only focus on what you can control, as I mentioned just now. And so today, when we are in the business, we measure people's RI. We are not too much concerned about their IQ. And there was a time we look at EI. So we have all these terminologies now, right? So you know what they mean. And now we look at the ability to choose how you receive feedbacks and so on. So it's called the resilience intellect. Okay? And so the resilience is very important nowadays. And so I say is that either with gratitude or defensiveness. If you receive everything with gratitude, appreciate what you have, try to ignore the things that you think you're lacking. All right. So it is important for us to count our blessings. And it's almost like there is a truck, and then there's a lot of loads coming down. And what we can do is, even though we are so overloaded with tests, with school selections, trying to go to universities, and mom want me to play tennis and be in the science Olympiad so that I'm perfect for Harvard or for some other universities, a lot of loads pressing on me. What I can do is let go of little pieces. Okay, so it's a practice to let go of things. Little things, let go. If mom want me to play, I can play. And then at this juncture, I play. And I do not think about other things. If I am doing my math, and then I'm thinking, boy, my biology is there. Okay, well, I still need to play my piano. Okay, if you were to thinking too many things at the same time, it would be overloading. So what you can try to practice is to just do whatever you're doing and do it at your best, and then go from one compartment to another. It's a exercise. We have to practice. After a while, it becomes natural. Okay, becomes natural. And so these are the two aspects I want you to ponder on, and I'm done. It's like on this side is the resilience, the elements on resilience. Say, for instance, tenacities and so on. We have already discussed many of these kind of models for you to develop a very strong inner core. Keep this in mind. I always ask myself, do I have a strong inner core so that if I have a strong inner core, I am grounded. There may be winds coming in and out, okay, blowing me, but I am grounded. Okay, if I have a strong inner core through the exercises that I mentioned and the models that I mentioned. And then the other side would be those moderators. Sometimes things are too hard and sometimes it's not as hard. And if I had the social support, perceive stress. Stress, it's a very interesting word. If I perceive my busyness as stressful, then I have a very high level of stress. People see me working very hard. I have many things on my plate, but I do one thing at a time. Okay. And then so I don't have much of a perceived stress. And so the stress could be alleviated from your mind by focusing on what you are doing at hand and do it well. And then what you can reflect on, you can use these terminologies that we have the list here. And then you can discuss it with each other what kind of baggage you need to let go of. Okay, just think about that. Any baggage, I call them baggage. They don't need to be there. Okay, it's nothing so critical. And then you try to count the happy moments, and so try to make a habit of it. If you don't have anybody around you, you do it by yourself. Okay, so I hope today's talk help you to really re-examine yourself, and hopefully you have a very healthy mental status. Okay.
Wow. Excellent presentation. I really appreciate. I learned so much from you. Especially, I'm a major psychologist now, full time. So I definitely will repeat and replay it for those kids, who missed it. And so it would maybe we open for question and answer. Is anybody who have a question to ask Dr. Sandra? And before we turn to Jerry, are you there? What?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, he's there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jerry, did you prepare anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you, Dr. Sandra? Erica, can you stop the recording?
Okay, sure.